right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard here to the Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you. My goodness, it's been an entire night, an entire day has gone by. I had to go to work this morning, and just to let that all sink in, what a series that was between the Mets and the New York Yankees. What an incredible series. And I know for a lot of Yankee fans, they're disappointed because their team didn't win a single game in that series, but you have to acknowledge, I don't care if you're a Met fan or a Yankee fan, that was a classic two-game series. That was fantastic. It was great baseball. And I think that, for the first thing that I have to discuss here when we look at this Subway Series is, for the last several years, there's been talk that the Subway Series has lost a lot of zip, has lost a lot of pizzazz. And that is true because for a number of years, the Mets have not been very good. And the Yankees, of course, have gotten better over the last couple of years, but for the most part haven't been where they are right now, which is looking like a team that could go to a World Series themselves. Here we are with both teams looking like World Series contenders. And it's the first time in this entire series, in the 26 years of this series since 1997, that you have the two teams, both in first place in their divisions. You had the Mets over, about 22 games over 500. You had the Yankees at 30-plus games over 500. For the first time, those two teams are meeting with that kind of momentum, with those kind of records. So certainly the fans came out. The fans were passionate about this series, and there is still a passion for this series. And when you have two really good teams going against one another, you're going to get great baseball. And that's what we got for 2 days. We got great theater. We got great baseball for 2 straight days between these two teams. And I think that's the biggest takeaway you have to get from this series more than anything else, other than the fact that obviously the Mets come away with a dramatic sweep of this series. And we'll talk about the meaning of that sweep for really both of these teams. From the Met fan standpoint, this was it felt like a World Series in a lot of ways for the Met fan, because this was an opportunity to really showcase the New York Mets to really showcase themselves on a national stage against the best team record-wise in baseball, and they showed up big. They fall behind early in Game 2, 2-0 on the home runs by Judge and Rizzo, come right back, get 4 runs right back after that. Home run by Marte, double by Alonso, and then the 2-run shot by Escobar. Boom, just like that, Mets back in front 4-2. And then it's really just a battle of the pitching staffs, for that matter, for the rest of the way. Just an intense game all the way through, right until the finish, where we see Edwin Diaz finish it off, getting strikeouts of both Rizzo and Gleyber Torres to end it as the Mets win in that game by a score of 6-3. That was a really good ball game now, and the intensity of that level of that game from start to finish was incredible. Again, felt like a playoff game. It really did. And then in Game 2, it was all about Max Scherzer. All about Max Scherzer. This dude absolutely dominated that game. The Mets held on to a 2-0 lead the entire night with him on the mill. And it wasn't so much about how the Mets got those 2 runs. It wasn't just the fact that they were holding on to a 2-0 lead. It was the fact that Max Scherzer was doing this, shutting out the New York Yankees, the best lineup in baseball, the way he did. He confounded them in every which way. He struck out Aaron Judge 3 times, including 2 big spots. One in the 3rd inning with a couple of guys on. He strikes him out swinging on a slider down and away. And then in the 7th inning, as you can see that Scherzer's clearly gassed at that point, finds a little bit of something extra, gets the slider down low and away, and again, Judge swings right through it, and he goes down on strikes. And it was incredible. And that's the reason why the Mets brought Scherzer into Queens here for. They brought Scherzer here for those kind of games, for those big moments, big spots against big teams. This is a guy who's, of course, as we all know, has a World Series ring with Washington, is going to the Hall of Fame, is got no hitters to his name, he's got Cy Youngs to his name. He's never pitched in a Subway Series game until last night, and he was absolutely phenomenal. Lived up to it was a beautiful performance for him, and it's a shame that the performance got wasted, as Buck Showalter made a bad mistake, deciding to not go with Seth Lugo right away in the 8th inning, deciding to go to David Peterson, who just didn't have it. He walks Anthony Rizzo. I understand it was a lefty-lefty matchup, but he walks Rizzo. They are able to turn around Gleyber Torres, and then he pops it out of the ballpark for a 2-run homer. I understand the strategy, but they probably should have gone to Lugo instead in that inning. Regardless, they bring Lugo in anyway. He cleans up the mess in the 8th inning, and, of course, eventually gets through the ninth inning as well, and that sets up the stage for the Mets' dramatic finish there. Escobar getting the double against Wandy Peralta, who I thought a couple of times was going to throw the ball away. On the bunt by Tomas Nido, looked like he was going to throw the ball away down the first baseline, and then on the little dribbler by Brandon Nimmo, it looked like he was definitely going to throw the ball away because he was trying to catch up to the speed of Nimmo. And then, of course, with 2 runners on, 1 out, we see Starling Marte with the big base hit that wins the ball game for the Mets. I mean, it was just incredible drama all the way through. And for the Mets, it was a signature series because it sends a statement to all Major League Baseball that the New York Mets are a team that is going to be a big-time contender. Not that that message hadn't been set in different points this year, in wins over the Braves, in wins over the Dodgers. But to do that against the Yankees, that sends a big statement to the rest of baseball that the Mets are indeed going to be a serious contender for the rest of the year. And what you have to like about this Mets team is this. Yes, they have issues as far as lack of power is concerned. You know, outside of Alonso, there's not that other big home run threat in the lineup. Totally understand that. Yes, the Mets have issues in the bullpen outside of Edwin Diaz, and they need help there as well. And this series exposed that. But one thing that the Mets do, one thing that did get exposed on the positive side from the Mets is this. They never give up on a game. They never give up on a game. And in a lot of ways, it reminds you of the Yankees, what the Yankees used to do in the 90s and the 2000s, where you know at any moment they're going to come right back and take the lead, if not win this game. And that's what happened here with the Mets. Falling behind, like I said, in Game 1, 2-0. Falling into a tie late in the eighth, late in the ball game, a crushing situation where they could have just folded their tens and said, "Oh, well, that's it, we're done." They come right back and they find a way to get the job done. So kudos to them for that. On the Yankees' standpoint, obviously Aaron Boone got a lot of heat for pinch hitting Joey Gallo in the first game instead of letting Isaiah Falefa bat. Falefa had a good series. He had 3 hits in the series. Decided to pinch hit Joey Gallo, who just can't hit anything right now. He swings and misses in a big spot late in the game in Game 1 and strikes out. And that, in a lot of ways, and look, this momentum's been going this way anyway, but I think that was the final nail in the coffin for the Yankees to go out there and trade for Andrew Benintendi of the Kansas City Royals, as he now comes in. He's going to be their left-handed power bench guy, hitting over 300 with Kansas City and 39 RBIs. Much better hitter than Joey Gallo is, and he's certainly going to be a big plus for them. So, for me, the thing that bothered me from the Yankees standpoint is they kind of got exposed a little bit against the Mets. You know, how often do we see, someone like Aaron Judge get befuddled on sliders low and away? You don't see that very often. You know, our team's going to start to pitch him a little differently now the way after what Scherzer did to him. He in this series, went 2 for 9. Had that great start in the series, obviously with a home run in the first inning of Game 1, but fell off after that. Mets did a great job against him. Obviously, not having Giancarlo Stanton in the lineup certainly hurt the Yankees in this series. Stanton's always had big numbers against the Mets. Without him there, made a bit of a difference there because there's not that protection for Judge in the lineup. Rizzo had a kind of quiet series, had that home run in the first game, and like Judge, kind of disappeared after that. How about Matt Carpenter? Everyone was talking about Matt Carpenter coming into that series because of this year that he has had since joining the Yankees. 1 for 8. Mets kept him very quiet. Very, very quiet in this series. Matt Carpenter had a bad 2 days. That's the thing that always bothers you about the Yankees is that lately with this group is that they don't always, unless it's home runs, they don't always get consistent string together hits very well, and they don't do that very often. So I think they got exposed in that regard. And they're going to need obviously not just with the help with the hitting, but they need another starting pitcher, and they certainly need some help in the bullpen. Both teams need help in the bullpen. If there's anything that came out of this series that both teams acknowledge that they need help with just a couple of days to go before the trade deadline, they both need bullpen help. And I know there's a lot of rumors that the Mets could be out there trying to get Wilson Contreras and Dave Robertson from the Chicago Cubs. Maybe by the time you see this video, that deal may be done. We'll see. But if they can make that happen and get Dave Robertson in here for the Mets standpoint, that'd be huge. And also Contreras with the bat and someone who can catch and has slugged the baseball out of the ballpark, that, of course, would be huge as well for them. So, terrific series. A series that I think sets the stage, I think, in a lot of ways for both of these teams now moving forward for the rest of this season. They're going to see each other again in a month anyway at Yankee Stadium in late August, and we'll see where these two teams are at that point. And that'll be another 2-game series. But this really does set the stage moving forward for these two teams. And I think from the Met fan standpoint, you have to be pleased where this team is right now. 3.5 games ahead of Atlanta. But now the focus must turn, if you're the Mets, to divisional games. They play Miami and Washington. They got to keep their nose to the grindstone right now after an emotional 2 days against their crosstown rivals. And from the Yankees, they can't wait to hit the reset button as they'll take on the lowly Kansas City Royals this weekend. Interesting times as we head down towards the trade deadline, folks. Leave your thoughts below. What did you think about that Subway Series? I thought it was one of the best Subway Series we have seen in quite some time, as far as the drama, as far as the tension, and as far as two great teams going at it and playing very well against one another. And, of course, you're seeing a team in the Mets stepping up and showing that they are indeed the team to reckon with for the rest of the season. Leave your thoughts below, and we'll talk to you next time.